What up, my Glitz and Ghetto babies, and welcome to the very first episode of the Glitz and Ghetto podcast, season 2. Now, last year was 2025. I actually kicked off the podcast, but I only gave y'all 3 episodes. And so this year, we're about to kick this thing off right. So before we get started, we got to do a little bit of housekeeping. First and foremost, make sure you follow me on all social media platforms. That's TikTok and that's Instagram at @I am_Naderah. And then make sure you follow the podcast on TikTok and Instagram at Glitz and Ghetto _. I gotta double check that. Make sure you check the caption that's right here on the screen, because guess what, guys? I don't know if for real, but we are doing the things, and I'm a team of me, and we are making it happen for season 2 of the Glitz and Ghetto podcast. We are also on YouTube. So make sure you like, share, and subscribe to the podcast, because we are talking all things entertainment business, okay? And if you know anything about me, you know that I'm a girl that's about my business, because I graduated from FAMU with my degree in accounting. So we're going to be talking about all things business related, financials, etc., as it pertains to the entertainment industry. Of course, I graduated from an HBCU, so we're going to bring in that HBCU love, and then we're going to merge all those worlds together, and we're going to talk about how you develop into the best artist that you can be inside of this very glitz and ghetto industry. I'm your girl, Naderah. Let's get to the intro song. Everybody want to be in entertainment till it's time to get down to the business. Yeah, it's all smoke and mirrors. What you can't see behind our public figures. No, you convinced by the glitz and the glam, but let's talk about how it really goes down. The sleepless nights, the sacrifice, your rate of pay, the union strikes. Yeah, they want you to stay in your lane. Got too many talents with your claim to fame. Opportunities unlimited. Look at Naderah, that girl is living it in. She bringing out all of her friends to talk about it so you understand. They talk about all of the noise all over the blogs and in the tabloids, to teaching the industry lessons they learn. So turn up the volume so you don't get burnt. Film and TV, she does that. Theatrical, she been that. And Glitz and Ghetto is our podcast to show you how to achieve that. You were born to entertain, but this ain't for leisure. You came to get paid. The Glitz and Glamour is a setup, cause behind the scenes it really is ghetto. Yeah, Glitz and Ghetto, Glitz and Ghetto, yeah, Glitz and Ghetto, Glitz and Ghetto. You were born to entertain, but this ain't for leisure. You came to get paid. The Glitz and Glamour is a setup, cause behind the scenes it really is ghetto. Yeah. And we back, like Beyonce Cal would always say. Listen, y'all, the year is already off to an amazing start. Yesterday was Founders Day to my lovely sorors of Delta Sigma Theta Sorority Incorporated. Ooh! So we got to give it up for my sorors right there. But now that we said that, we got to talk about ATL. We got a problem. And I'm not saying Houston, we have a problem. I'm saying ATL, we coming into 2026 hot and ready. The industry did not hold back, and I know that you guys just had an audition there, and there's a little bit of drama that's going down in these ATL streets. Okay, we're gonna watch a little bit of a clip that happened, and I just want us to just take a little insight and give our opinion about what's going down in ATL.
Yo, so I just got out of audition. The choreographer made us all like stand in a line, and then somebody asked like, "What are you looking for?" Because they got cut, and he literally said, we want to see people on stage that, like, we want to see people on stage that look like, you know, have sex with them. And I found that to be so, like, lifeless.
So if you paid attention to what's been going on at ATL, there was just an audition for the Toni Braxton tour that she's doing with New Edition as well as Boyz II Men. And it's going to be this whole big thing, right? And so there was an audition that was held in Atlanta where she wanted some eye candy male dancers to be on stage with her. And let's say this also, as a caveat to this, we saw that Monica and Brandy went on tour and they had some amazing male dancers that were with them on the Boys Mind tour. And so I think people are really getting into the aesthetic of some sexy eye candy on stage with them when it's female artists having male dancers. Now, see, I'm a person that is pro that just because I feel like the boys don't get enough love. Like every artist, whether it's male or female, typically has a bunch of female dancers. And so we don't really get to see the fellas shine like that. And so in this instance, there was an audition in Atlanta and the boys got to go. And I feel like, unfortunately, there's a situation to where there's just not enough exposure that's happening for the men in Atlanta. And I just feel like the professionalism, I hate to say it, is lacking. You know, love y'all real bad. But there's a situation that's going down where, you know, as an artist who prides myself on coming out of ATL, I said I was raised in Miami-Dade, but ATL definitely made me. I have explored the entertainment industry and got all my bookings from movies, TV shows, etc from working inside of Atlanta. But what I also understand is that the professionalism, unfortunately, has not been as top tier in Atlanta as it should be. And if I want to be transparent about my experience, I'm going to rate my top three cities in order from best to worst. And not to say that they're bad cities, but they just all have their different things. Okay. So because I lived in all three major hubs for entertainment, that's LA, New York, and Atlanta, let's just talk about the archetypes that are there. Okay. First and foremost, I'm going to say number one on my list is New York City. And the reason why New York City is my favorite archetype of artist is because not only are these people like super passionate about what it is that they do, but most of these artists have gone to college and have educated themselves and have really honed in on this craft. So it's not something that they're just doing for kicks and giggles, or, they were misfits in middle school and high school. And so they just thought the only thing they could lean on was their talent. These are people who were scholars. So they graduated from Juilliard, NYU, Columbia, Pace, and all these really great institutions, and they take their craft seriously. So much so that they take pennies on a dollar to go out of state to work in these theater houses because they know what it means to go out of state and put that work in and get that resume builder so that they can get to where they're going to go. The pinnacle is Broadway in New York City, okay? And so these people are like really trained professionals, and they really are proficient at what it is that they do. And to be honest, in New York City, they don't give a crap about what you've done in the commercial dance industry. You dance for Beyonce, that's great. What can you do in the theater world? You did a bunch of movies, that's awesome. What can you do in the theater world? And they're not just gonna give it to you just because you got a stacked resume. Trust me, I know. Okay. From there, my next city that I'm gonna call out that I think is the best place for professionals is Los Angeles, California. Okay. And the reason why I'm gonna say California is because California, these people are a bit delusional, if I'm not gonna lie. Like, even if a person has no talent, as long as they got a look and they got passion, they got, some gusto about them, these people are gonna go get it. They understand that this is the way that the industry is. You're gonna either get with the program or you're gonna get gone. That city will chew you up and spit you out. And I'm not afraid to say that I was a person that was a victim of being, excited about it. And I got chewed up and I got spit out and I landed in Atlanta. Now, while Atlanta has my heart because I developed as a woman there, and then it has given me so many different opportunities. Atlanta was a lot more kind to me and my development as an artist. Like, it wasn't as cutthroat as New York City or LA. And I think that that is where we get into the problem where the professionalism is lacking in Atlanta because we really rest on that Southern hospitality idea, but it's really just like, we got to get it together in Atlanta. Okay. First and foremost, in Atlanta, there were a lot of movies and TV shows that were being produced there. Okay. And so I got a 2-page resume full of artists, movies, and TV shows that I was able to book while I was in Atlanta. But the TV industry is leaving. The studios have gone overseas. And so the work is not working like that. And so I hate to say this out loud, and the girls gonna come at me when I say this, but the kids in Atlanta ain't working like that. And the OGs left. And you probably talking to me, looking at me like, Naderah, what do you know about the OGs working in Atlanta? You not the most booked and busy dancer out of Atlanta. No, I'm not the most booked and busy dancer out of Atlanta. I am one of the most versatile booked and busy dancers out of Atlanta. And let me tell you something, baby. All the choreographers, your favorite choreographers, the OG choreographers, OG dancers, etc. I danced with them all. They know me by first name, and a lot of them I got them in my phone. Okay, so I can call them, and it's always going to be love. And let me tell you something. What they're saying about Atlanta is pretty consistent as a thread, and it's that the city lacks professionalism. People show up to auditions and class late. People showing up to auditions and, they don't have on the proper attire, or you showing up to class in the way that you feel like you're booking a job. And I'm not telling you not to do that, but like the etiquette is just not there. Like, when we in class, we need to be in class to learn. We need to be in class to network. We need to be doing those things. We can't be coming into the room, kiki, ha ha, because I'm with my best friend. And I'm not gonna pretend like I'm so aware of what y'all got going on there right now, but I know when I was down there and I was performing more often and in those audition rooms and in those classrooms and in those rehearsals, it got rough. Okay. And I'm not gonna lie, I'm not gonna bring up this choreographer's name because NDAs, I've signed them, okay? And I respect my NDAs. Those who know. Listen, people would be in rehearsal, kiki, ha ha, step out, smoking a blunt, coming back inside, like nothing happened. And it was just disrespectful. We would be on set at the studio and production would have to complain because marijuana's not legal in Atlanta, people. Or maybe it is now. Maybe I'm out the loop. Either way, you should not be doing that on the job, even though that's something that you love. And if you're going to do it, hello, be discreet about it. Discretion is key. But whatever the case is, I'm not going to talk about all those negative things because I love Atlanta. I think Atlanta has so much potential. I think the OGs like myself and the people who came before me did a lot of work to put Atlanta on the map. And unfortunately, the situation that just went down in Atlanta is not doing Atlanta any justice. You're never going to beat the allegations, Atlanta, if you continue to show up the way that you're doing it. It's like, get out of your feelings. This is an industry, okay? Now, while I will agree that there is a time and a place for everything, the entertainment industry is such that, you know what? There's no HR department. There's really no code of ethics. People speak and say what they want to say because this is a playground for creatives to speak and express themselves. So yes, the choreographer could have said it in a different way, but I mean, this is an industry where you got to have thicker skin. And some may say that, like, Naderah, you're being insensitive. You weren't there, so you don't understand. But I've been in everybody's shoes. In fact, I'm still inside of your shoes right now. And going back to my tiers in the cities that I love to work, the reason why I like New York City is because the union covers the theater actors. And so there is a code of ethics. There is someone that you can go and talk to about these things. Particularly in the commercial dance industry, when you're working in film and TV, you got SAGs to cover you. But when you're working with artists, all that goes out the window. You're at the discretion of that person's team and how they decide to run it. Okay. You're at the discretion of that artist management, that artist choreographer, and whoever that artist put on their team to facilitate their dream. So you're either going to get with their program or that ain't the program for you. Okay. So I'm going to say that I do think that there's a time and a place for everything. And I do think that there is a way that you can speak to people. But when you wanted to go inside this industry, it's been existing for decades on end. And I'm not telling you that you're weak or sensitive. But what I'm saying is that you have to get a little bit more thicker skin because things get bad in the industry. Hence the name of this podcast, Glitz and Ghetto. Okay, baby. The intro song says, it's all smoke and mirrors, what you can't see behind all public figures. I know you are convinced by the glitz and the glam, but let's talk about how it really goes down, baby. This is the name of the game. You got choreographers and dancers in Atlanta confused by typecasting. This has been going on since the creation of the industry. And while it feels unfair, when you get to a place where you're a vet, you're going to be so thankful for the days that they let you go home early. If you know I'm not what you want, please don't call me out. Please don't bring me out here. Please don't waste my time. Please don't make me have to call off work because we all got survival jobs and things that we're doing to finance our careers. And we'll talk about that in another episode because this industry is very expensive. Okay. And if you don't need me, don't have me out and don't waste my time. Okay. In fact, if you don't want me, don't waste my headshot because I spent a lot of money to print those. And not only to print them, to go get a photographer, to get the shoot, to get them edited. This thing is expensive. So if you don't want me, cut me at the beginning. Okay. This is something that we have to get used to. And as a person who is 5'9", as a female, I'm like 5'9 3/4. So I'm like 5'10". I spent many of my years in the industry as a dancer who was always the tallest dancer inside of the room. Okay. And what I want you guys to realize that if a job is for you, it's going to be for you and no one can take that away from you. Nobody. Okay. And I'm going to give an example of an instance where typecasting didn't work in my favor, but it just is the nature of the game. And the opportunity came back around for me. Okay. So first and foremost, let's talk about typecasting. When I was living in Atlanta and I wanted to dance for major artists, right? I was in the commercial industry. I wanted to do movies, TV shows, but I definitely wanted to dance for artists. And so one day, my agent, who I was signed per gig to, shout out to 411 South, RIP 411 South, but that's who I was signed to as a per gig contract with them because I had procured my own relationships and things of that nature, which as this season go on, we'll talk about that as well because relationships absolutely matter. They were representing me per gig, and they said, Naderah, Meg the Stallion is looking for dancers in Atlanta. Are you interested? Can you come to the studio, etc.? So I was like, yes, I'm down. I'm ready to do it. I was excited, like, oh my God, I don't have to audition. I get to just show up to dance for Meg the Stallion, the Stallion, of course. And that was for the BET Hip Hop Awards. And I was excited and I was on my way to the studio. And then on my way to the studio, I had the right height, but Meg was still curvy back in those days. So, she wanted thicker girls on stage with her. And unfortunately, I wasn't curvy enough to be on stage with her. Now, the girls who were on stage with her, they ate down. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. They did what they needed to do. But I got cut from the job, not because of my ability, not because of my height, but because somewhere on the casting list, I did not fit the specs that they were looking for. They needed a curvy girl, and I got a flat stomach six pack. Y'all done seen me do my sweat reveals on many of occasions, and it's not in my ministry. It's not. And my mom asked me one day, she said, well, do you think you want to gain weight so you can dance for somebody like that? I'm like, no, I'm not gaining weight to dance for anybody. Okay. Those who know me, okay. I'm not gaining weight to dance for anybody. So then I let that go. The people who got the job, it was for them to have it. They looked great. They had a great performance, and that was wonderful. But you fast forward to 2024, I get a phone call while I'm in LA working on another job. I was on tour with Mrs. Doubtfire. Shout out to my Doubtfire family. And I got a phone call from my agent, who I'm now signed to Block Entertainment Group. And they said, hey, are you available to dance for Meg the Stallion at the BET Awards? And I'm like, wow, I get another opportunity to dance for Meg. Now, mind you, 2024 Meg, she done snatched up. She been in the gym. She's a little bit more fit. She's a lot more tight, etc. I'm still the same height. She didn't get shorter. Neither did I. But guess what? Now the job is available for me to have. I didn't have to audition. My specs were exactly what they were looking for, and the job was mine. Okay. Now imagine me also. I tell people all the time, I am going for jobs that are very specific to me. And I need all of us to understand that when we're navigating this industry, jobs are going to be very specific to who you are, especially if you're tall, or if you're really, really short, or if you're really, really skinny, or if you're really, really thick. You are going to be a specialty that's going to be having jobs that are very specific to you. If you're not the average person or girl, let's just go women. If you're not the average height girl between the heights of like 5'4" and 5'6", you're probably not going to get booked and busy all the time. If you don't have like this standard weight size where you're just like not too skinny, but not too big, you kind of like curvy, but not too, you got to be really in that like sweet space in order to get these jobs consistently. And then it breaks down to color. How many white girls, how many black girls, how many Spanish girls, how many redheads, how many brown? It is all very specific. So when you go into these auditions, don't take it as a personal attack on yourself and make yourself feel less than and tell yourself that, oh, well, they didn't even give me a chance to dance. Be happy that they didn't waste your time. Because guess what? Time is money in real life. Time is money in real life. You got to be able to go with the punches and move on. Be proud of that. Also, when we're talking about things like this, I mentioned relationships earlier. It's too early in your career to be getting on social media going viral for talking about a choreographer. Now, I hope this doesn't follow you, young man, for the rest of your career. I'm praying that this works out in your favor. But this is just a telltale sign of like things not to do in the industry. There's a way to do things, and the way that happened was not ideal because you don't want to put yourself in a position where people think that you're difficult to work with or that you're too sensitive. Because guess what? If you couldn't take that kind of rhetoric inside of the audition, imagine how crazy it gets in rehearsal. And people talk crazy, especially when you get down to the wire. Get to where you have to go. Do what you have to do. people got, it's millions of dollars being spent every minute inside of rehearsal. So if you can't take that kind of conversation where a person saying like, look, I'm looking for dancers that have a great look, that look effable, you're not going to be able to take it when they tell you look a hot ass mess in rehearsal. You're not going to be able to take it when they tell you you look like a big pig. You're not going to be able to take it when they tell you that you're lagging your feet and you look like you just spent hours standing up in church on Sunday and your feet hurt and you've been in a 12-hour rehearsal doing the same thing full out, hour after hour after hour after hour. Maybe a couple water breaks, maybe not. So we have to be mindful of the things that we're doing inside of this industry, because guess what? We don't want these kind of things to follow us. And another thing that I want to talk about is how, when you are going out for these things, I want you to ask yourself, is this the job for me? Because even if you do fit the specs, and even if you might be the type that they're casting in a typecast audition, is that the team that you want to be on? Because I learned a long time ago, male hip hop artists, not really my bag. Not really my bag. And even beyond that, even deeper than that, music videos, not really my zhuzh. If it's the right artist at the right time with the right rate, and it's perhaps. But from my experience, music videos, not for me. Male hip hop artists, not for me. And it's not because I don't like the people, but it's just the business aspect of it. They usually are going non-union, which means that the ramifications that are in place to keep you safe, to keep you paid, to keep you comfortable on set, especially when you're coming from being, SAG or being on SAG jobs, like that's just not the kind of things you want to deal with. It gets very ghetto. And I will also say to this, what is for you will never pass you. And what is for you will absolutely be for you, and no one can take that away because it's ordained by God. Okay? So we just have to be very specific about how we're going about these things. You guys, this industry is not for the faint of heart. It's not for the weak. It's not for those who can not take something and let it roll off their back like a duck in water. Let it roll off your back. You're going to have plenty of more auditions that are going to come around. You're going to hear plenty more crazy things. You know what you do? You go into that audition, you give it your best, you walk away. You're going to have a conversation with your friends on the side. You guys get together, you coalesce, and you talk to organizations that are in place like the Dancers Alliance that has been advocating for dancers for decades at this point. There are certain rates and standards and ramifications that are in place because there isn't a union that represents commercial dancers. SAG-AFTRA represents dancers, actors, backgrounds, etc. for movies and TV shows. The Actors Equity Association protects dancers, singers, actors who are on stage. You've got IATSE, who protects production workers on film and TV and theatrical productions. And so when it comes to commercial gigs, when you're talking about touring with artists, there is no union in place that is protecting dancers. But Dancers Alliance is there. The same thing can be said for singers. The same thing can be said for musicians. But musicians, I don't know what they worked out, but they usually get great treatment. They get paid well. They get paid on time because the artists know you don't really have a show without your musicians for real. And that's just the cold, hard facts. Words are hard. That's the cold, hard facts. You got to be mindful of what it is that you're doing. And you got to ask yourself, is this something that I truly want? Is that the team that I want to be for? And one thing I'm always going to talk about is making sure that you have a spiritual foundation, because these things wear on you. And I can't imagine, even if I'm talking about this, the young man, I'm sure you're probably sick and tired of hearing about it because you weren't necessarily the person who, went off inside the audition. You talked about it on your social media page and it has blown up probably bigger than you ever expected. I don't know what that is causing you mentally, but I'm praying for you because I know this is not an easy thing to endure by yourself. I know that it can be overwhelming because everybody's talking about it. And I know that you may have thoughts about what this means for your career moving forward, but I am a firm believer that if you trust in God, that God will guide you on your journey and that this too shall pass. And I hope that we all take this as a learning lesson, that there is a way to do things. and maybe necessarily getting on social media to blast someone, etc., might not have been the best thing to do, especially if you have not established a name for yourself. Like, I know dancers who are booked and busy who have spoken out about things, but because they have built relationships over time, them advocating for things for dancers, rates, etc., treatment on set, all those things are not gonna impact them in a negative way. But when you're new to the industry and you haven't proven yourself as a dancer, you have to prove yourself. You have to prove yourself. The last thing I'm going to say before I get out of here for this episode, because I want to keep it nice and short, we're going to get 30-minute episodes for season 2, just so we can build up our audience and build trust, and build up this community, because I want y'all to trust me. The last thing I'm going to say is that you got to be about your business. And you have to understand that none of this is personal, not a single part of it. Nobody is doing this to hurt your feelings. Nobody cares about how you feel. Just like you got a job and you see somebody working at McDonald's and they got an attitude, it's like, look, hey, I didn't tell you to take this job. This is something you decided to do. You got to take the entertainment industry the exact same way. Everybody's here to do a job. Nobody cares about your feelings. Leave your emotions outside the door. You got to find ways to ground yourself. You have to find ways to show up and really be about your business, because really it boils down to your paper. It really does. And I'm going to call myself out on this, because I know that I've been in situations to where people didn't like what I had to say, but it was definitely about the business. Okay. It's always going to be about what my contract says, how much I'm supposed to get paid, how much I'm supposed to pay my agent, what am I obligated to do, and sticking to those things. Now, sometimes I will say the relationships that I built will make me make certain adjustments, because I believe in my friend and my friend believes in me, and one hand washes the other. But we got to be mindful of how we're doing that. The same way you would do in any business. You are an independent contractor. You're providing a service to a production. Okay? Now that's going to come up and make sense when you're doing your taxes. Mark my words. However, you are a service provider. Just like a plumber comes out and provides a service, they physically do labor to provide a service so that you can have running water and clean plumbing. You are doing the same thing, physical labor, as a dancer, as a singer, as an artist. You have to refine your instrument. You have to show up being able to execute the skills that they're requesting of you on these jobs. You got to be able to do it. So you have to set up yourself as a business. You have to show up accordingly. Now, everybody may not like that, because most artists, we just love the field, and I'm like, passion. I just want to do it because I love it. You got bills to pay. You got to retire at some point. I'm 36, baby, and these bones don't move like they used to. Okay? I'm going to be the first person to say it. My body does not work like it used to. But guess what? The job still got to get done. You got to still take care of yourself. And the best way you take care of yourself is if you take care of your instrument and you operate yourself as a business, and you're making sure that you're putting things in place and working in a way that preserves your business and your ability to provide those services. Okay? Atlanta, I love y'all real bad. And I know better is coming. I'm sorry that this situation happened. Y'all have my heart, but we got to make sure we stand in it to win it. Atlanta's looked at the place for influencers and social media stars and reality TV stars, but there is real talent in Atlanta. The professionalism just has to match it. You got to understand that one individual having a bad audition or having a bad experience is not going to change the industry. Typecasting is something that is just the nature of the beast. It's never going to go away. How do you take that on the chin and put yourself in a position to be the type that wants to be cast inside of stuff like that? In this particular audition, they were looking for something that you absolutely have control over. If you showed up to that audition, they had a height requirement. So if you showed up, you already met the height requirement. And I'm not saying that you're not physically attractive in the face, but they were really looking for people who were muscle bound. Bodybuilders, if you will. Take your shirt off. I see abs ripping. What can you do to put yourself in that position? Because your body is your instrument. It has to be fit anyway. And to be honest, in the commercial dance industry, Most male dancers are ripped. The ones that you see that are booked and busy, they're ripped. Miho, Marvelous. Look at all of Chris Brown's dancers, Lance. I mean, the list goes on and on. I'm just naming a couple people who come to the top of my brain right now, but the ones who are booked and busy are the people who have a very specific look that is tantalizing. It makes the girls go crazy, whether those artists are into women or not. Everybody likes a little piece of eye candy, especially when it's a woman on stage as legendary as someone like Toni Braxton. The standards are high for men, but the standards are equally as high for women. Okay? Yes, we're in a body positivity era, where different body types are celebrated. But again, even though my body is fit, I'm also super tall. So that's not something I can control. I'm only going to get jobs that are booking girls that are 5'7" and taller. That's very specific jobs, like Beyonce, who I've danced for, Taylor Swift, Rihanna. Doja Cat had me as a extraterrestrial character in her show because she needed tall girls towering over her looking like alien. But again, that's very specific. Okay? I love y'all real bad. This goes out to everybody in the industry. My heart goes out to you. Y'all got this. Keep the energy going. It's just the beginning of the new year. Shout out to all my dancers that have stepped into the industry for the first time. Continue to follow the Glitz and Ghetto podcast because guess what? We're just going to keep giving you more information about things you can do to win in this industry. Yes, it's a tough industry, but if I can make it, you can too. This is another episode of the Glitz and Ghetto podcast. I love y'all, and I'll see y'all next time. Peace. Glitz and Ghetto, Glitz and Ghetto, yeah. Glitz and Ghetto, it's Glitz and Ghetto. Glitz and Ghetto, it's Glitz and Ghetto. The glitz and glamour is a setup, cause behind the scenes it really gets ghetto.